you look at the football, you look at gaming, and unfortunately with rugby at the moment, we've slipped behind because 10 years ago we were so negative about it. Whereas now we're trying to grasp for that because we want them, because that's where the influence is for that younger audience coming through. Yeah, look, good afternoon, everyone. It's a really interesting one at the moment with where the influencer world is. And I came from a period in rugby where it was the complete opposite. When I was playing, it was you don't put anything out there, you don't show anything, it's why you're putting your head above the parapet. And that's why rugby has really struggled. And now we've tried to transfer it and we've tried to catch up with the influencer world. But you look at the football, you look at gaming, and unfortunately with rugby at the moment, we've slipped behind because 10 years ago we were so negative about it. Whereas now we're trying to grasp for that because we want them, because that's where the influence is for that younger audience coming through. So yeah, nowadays we have a lot of cameras in England camps. I'm sure your kids have seen the favourite players, Marcus Smith, Maritoje, seeing how they're training, what they're eating, a bit of fun, all that kind of stuff. So we're slowly getting it and we're slowly embracing it. However, in the sports world, we're always very, and this is the toughest part of a sports person, because as a sports person, yes, they want to be out there, they want to be on papers, they want to be having big deals, all that kind of stuff, but they don't want to have the stick. As Cal says, so for them, they want to be promoted, but they know as soon as they play slightly badly, it's going to be like, why are they not focusing on the game? Why are they mucking around on the computer? Why? And at the end of the day, you have to have time and play the PlayStation or go to the cinema with your mates or have coffees, because you can't train every time. But it's that thing which is in the back of every sports person's mind. Are they strong enough to overcome that? Because the media can be quite a fickle business, especially in this country. So look, I think rugby, we're slowly trying to catch up, but we're nowhere near other sports at the moment, and that's a real struggle for us.
Tell us about that transition, because, as someone who's done that same, it is quite a weird, strange world. And
you know what, I would have loved to have been a gladiator. I mean, that is amazing.
There must be
you look at it.
I mean,
I'm sure you could come and do a celeb version.
I don't think I'm strong enough, unfortunately. My shoulders would come out or something. But look, in all seriousness, when sports people retire, it's a massive struggle, and you would have been through it. And a lot of sports people really, really struggle because their whole identity disappears. I remember I went to go see a footballer called Tony Adams. And I'm sure a lot of you know him, the Arsenal and England legend, great guy. And we actually met at King's Cross Station. It sounds a bit dodgy, but we met there. And we had a similar chat. What are you going to do? Because as a sports person, as soon as you get to about 30, everyone says, so what's next? Where are you going? What's evolving? And I was saying I do a little bit of that, but I don't do anything properly. And he said the biggest mistake people make when they retire is trying to compare it to running out in front of 80,000 people. And unfortunately, nothing you ever do will compare to that, or playing at the Olympics or something like that. So unfortunately, you have to say, you know what, that chapter of my life was amazing, but it's over. And it doesn't mean you can't have fulfillment, success, enjoyment, all those kind of things, but it's different. And some players and some athletes get there quicker, and some it takes a long time. And for me, my first year was great. I was probably eating and drinking too much, and I was working at Vinex, and I went to the Masters, and I went to the Open, and I did some amazing things. And then second year, you're like, okay, so this is reality now, and the waist gets a bit bigger and all that. And now third year, I'm a little bit happier, and I am happy now. I've got a nice balance in what I do, and I think that's what's important. I speak to people who have retired ahead of me, and I'm like, how long did it take you to be happy with where you are post sport? And most of them say about 5 to 7 years. I always say to people post university, you bounce around for 2 or 3 years, you sleep on a mate's sofa. All of a sudden, we're doing that 15 years later with mortgages, with kids, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, look, it's been a great ride. And again, yeah, now I feel happiness in that, and I'm 3.5 years down the line.
And how have you used what you've learned in rugby to help the transition, and then to go into this world of that influencer side of fitness and everything?
Yeah, I think you've got to embrace it. And people say about their kids using, well, not so much smartphones, but technology as well. And their whole world is going to be on that. And with Cal, you ask, and you look at someone like Floyd Mayweather, probably one of the biggest athletes when I was growing up. He wanted to fight one of the biggest influencers because no one under 20 knew who he was. So again, it's really embracing that atmosphere or that knowledge. And I think for Cal and stuff, he makes it sound quite easy, but stuff like this, these influencers, it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of time, there's a lot of effort. Like you said, he's been doing it for a long, long time. And that's what being a lot of marketing people in here, a lot of brand managers, all that kind of stuff. That's what they want. They want that niche straight into their sport. So look, if we're honest, it's tough. It doesn't just happen. And even when you go into the business world from the sports world, there are similarities, but it's very different. In the sports world, in the public eye, in the sports arena, decisions are instant, right or wrong. They're instant, whereas you go into the business and it can take a month, 2 months of planning. Whereas in sport, you've got to deal with it there and then. If you don't, you might be too late. Or you've got to deal with it that training session, because if not, you've lost the day. So everything becomes not more important, but a lot more instant.
Well, we have the platforms for mental health, don't we, Chris? So, you're going to get those messages back as well.
Yeah, you are. And there's some horrible people at the other side who are. There's some horrible people on social media. I'm sure most people in the room have seen adolescents in the last couple of weeks, and it's been so powerful, and I think it's hit. And things are changing. People want that positivity. They want that energy and all that. And yeah, there are some people who influence. And I think for the young people coming through now, it is tough. It is tough to be a teen at school with smartphones, and you can't escape it. If a kid's being bullied, they can't just go home and not see kids again until the next day. Everything's on social media, everything's instant, and that is really tough. And that's a chapter we have to all try and address. It's not just for them. But the other side, like we spoke about, social media can be brilliant. You can see what people are doing all over the world. It's made the world a much smaller place. You can keep up with your friends in Australia, and it feels like you're still so connected with them. Whereas obviously before, you're making a phone call once a week or something like that, or not even that, a postcard every now and then. So look, there's both sides of it still. Yeah, look, if I'm honest, I'm probably a little bit behind the curve in this influencer world, and you're trying to catch up. I'm sure there's many of us in there who are trying to catch up. Like I said, I work with Binex in the wine world. Me and my wife, we have the Chris Robshaw Foundation, so we set up a foundation a couple of years ago where we empower young lives through sport and music and use that for the good. So that's amazing. And then I'm doing a lot of the TV work in the rugby space. But again, it's that kind of market now where you almost, and you know what it's like in that media world, you do need to stay more current, because unfortunately in 5 years' time there'll be other rugby players come in. So again, it's doing stuff like this, but it's exploring that influencer world. But I don't think you can dip your toe in. I think you've got to go all in. Because if not, you do one thing and you don't get the engagement and what they talk about and pick up, because that's what all sponsors want. They want to see numbers, they want to see analytics, don't they? So again, it's trying to evolve that. I'm talking about something else, but that's for another time, hopefully. But yeah, look, it's trying to evolve and trying to catch that wave, really, because again, like Carl said, it's only going to go one way. Unfortunately, TV is probably slipping down. I think live sport, I think there's always going to be a space for it. Hopefully, unless AI robots play rugby and everything else, but that's a possibility. But yeah, it's trying to catch up on that wave.